I believe in private roads, private post offices, private schools.
In 1959, author Ayn Rand, 2 years after publishing her famous novel Atlas Shrugged, was challenged in an interview with journalist Mike Wallace to explain how her anti-government philosophy would work, specifically when it came to infrastructure.
How do we build roads, sanitation facilities, hospitals, schools, if the government is not permitted to force, if you will, by vote, taxation?
Who pays for all those things?
All of us pay for these things.
Now you have no right to tell the man who produced the wealth in what way you want him to spend it. If you need his money, you can obtain it only by his voluntary consent.
And you believe in the eventual goodwill of all human beings, or at least that top echelon of human beings, whom you believe will give willingly?
No goodwill is necessary, only self-interest.
To this day, free market conservatives like House Speaker Paul Ryan say they were inspired by Rand's vision of a world where government gets out of the business of taxing and spending. But on election night, President-elect Trump pledged to
rebuild our highways, bridges, tunnels, airports, schools, hospitals. We're going to rebuild our infrastructure.
Having a deep-in-debt Uncle Sam shell out the cash for these types of projects is the kind of thing that Republicans typically frown upon. Indeed, infrastructure spending is where Senators Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi say they could find common ground with Trump. How do Republicans, Democrats, and Trump reconcile their differences on infrastructure spending? Trump appears to be trying to bridge the divide by using private financing and not just government funding to pay for $1 trillion in new infrastructure spending. Here's how, according to Trump's plan, this would work. Investors would pay for large infrastructure projects. Eventually, those projects, like toll roads, for example, would start turning profits. 82% of the profit earned by the investors would be tax-free. Also, according to Trump's plan, workers on these jobs would be earning salaries that would be taxed at the normal rate, and assuming these workers had been unemployed, the taxes they'd begin paying would help defray the government's own share of infrastructure investment. But industry experts and other officials have their doubts that this revenue-neutral plan would work. They tell the Journal that privately funded projects, which need to turn a profit, aren't well suited for routine maintenance, such as repaving a public street.
The infrastructure in New York State is considered by all to be a total and complete disaster. 1/3 of the state's major highways and 45% of its major roads. I know that. I hit a lot of potholes.
In other words, unless you turn those highways and roads Trump's talking about into toll roads, it's hard to imagine why private companies would see in them an opportunity to turn a profit. Another wrinkle, the unemployment rate for construction workers is around 5.7%. So most of the people who'd be doing the work are already paying income tax. Another thing Trump's plan doesn't detail, how much of what today is public infrastructure would, under his plan, be privatized. According to Ayn Rand's philosophy, the more, the better. That's the short answer.